Dark chocolate, lots of nuts, candied orange peel and cranberries in these easy to bake chocolate fruit cakes. Bake something different this Christmas. These are not your usual fruit cakes. Christmas is around the corner and I love this season of baking, and one of my favorite recipes to bake during this season is this chocolate fruit cake from the famous chef and author David Lebowitz. And since I want to share a really easy recipe with you, I have taken the liberty of adding some fruit and nut into another recipe of his. And if you have your candied orange peel ready, you could bake these little cakes right away. And in case you missed my video about making candied orange peel at home, please do watch this video on how to make candied orange peel. And absolutely no store-bought stuff, please. So for this recipe, we need to preheat the oven to 180 degrees centigrade. And we have this muffin tray here. This is 1/4 cup or 60 ml capacity muffin tray. And I have greased it thoroughly because the fruit and nuts tend to stick to the muffin tray. So we need to be really careful here. I've used baking spray on this muffin tray. You could just grease it with some oil and then dust it with some flour. Weigh and line up all your ingredients on the counter. This is really important, especially in recipes which require melted chocolate to be folded into the batter. This is really important. You can find the ingredient list in the description below the video. I have some flour sifted together with some salt and some baking powder, and there's some powdered sugar, there's some salt, there are some cranberries, there's some yogurt, full fat and at room temperature. All ingredients here are at room temperature. There's some vegetable oil. You could use any oil which doesn't have a distinctive flavor or taste. So I'm using some rice bran oil here. We have some candied orange peel, homemade. And there's some chopped up toasted almonds. We have some dark chocolate chunks. There's some egg, and there's an orange here. I'm going to be grating the zest of this orange and then putting it into the cake. And we are also going to be melting some chocolate and oil together and then folding it into the batter. And so before we melt the chocolate, we need to make sure that the rest of the things in the recipe are already ready, because we do not want to keep the melted chocolate waiting, as it will start firming up, and we do not want that. We want the chocolate really fluid and smooth so that it combines well with the batter and gives you really moist cakes. And so we are going to be taking this flour and baking powder and some salt which I have sifted together. I'm going to be mixing the batter in this bowl. And we are going to be making a small well in here. And then all the liquid ingredients except the melted chocolate go into this bowl. We have some egg, some vanilla before I forget it. And then we have some oil here and some yogurt. And I'm going to be grating some orange zest into this liquid here. Please use fresh oranges and use organic ones if you can find them. Do not skip this. And we are also going to be adding the powdered sugar into this egg here. And we'll just whisk all of these ingredients. And we are whisking just to combine these ingredients. Now we have everything ready here, including a tablespoon which I'm going to be using to fill the muffin tray. And we have the liquid ingredients whisked and ready. We have the flour sifted and ready in this bowl. We can now melt the chocolate and then use it immediately once it is smooth. So we are now going to be melting the chocolate here. And if you do want to watch how to melt chocolate, please do watch this video here. Be really careful when you're melting chocolate, because you want it to be really smooth and fluid, and the texture of melted chocolate can impact the texture of your cake. And now we have this almost ready. I'm going to be taking this off the heat. Now it's almost melted and I'm going to be stirring this to melt it completely. And we want your chocolate to be like this, fluid and smooth. And now we are going to be pouring this yogurt mixture into this flour here and mix it gently a couple of times. We still have some more mixing to go with the nuts and the melted chocolate, so you don't really have to make it all smooth. Mix this gently. Now we are going to be adding the melted chocolate into this. Scrape out every bit of this melted chocolate. You don't want to miss out on any of the chocolate flavor here. And now fold this again into the batter here. You want to be really gentle when you do this. Now the candied orange peel, and then the cranberries, the chopped up dark chocolate. You could also use chocolate chips, some toasted almonds. You could use cashew nuts or hazelnuts or anything else you like. And now we are going to be mixing this again. Again, remember, we want to be gentle here. If you overmix the batter, your cakes might turn out to be tough. And so this is our cake batter. I know this looks like a lot of nuts and fruit in this little bit of batter, but anything less than this and you can't really call it a fruit cake. And this holds about 4 tablespoons of batter. I'm going to be filling these muffin trays a little more than half full. So that's going to be a little more than 2 tablespoons of batter. Try to use the same amount of batter in each cavity so that the baking time is uniform for all the cakes. And remember, you're always safer under baking chocolate rather than over baking it. And this recipe makes about 9 cakes. It's always better to do small batches when you're baking something for the first time, just in case you want to make any changes. If this batter was made with eggs that were pasteurized, then I could have eaten the batter as it is. But of course I can't, at least not in front of my kids. And now this goes into the oven for about 10 to 11 minutes. And now it's time to take the cakes out. You need to bake these cakes till a toothpick inserted in the center of the cake comes out clean. But then this batter has some chocolate chunks in it, so it's a little tricky because your toothpick may encounter a bit of melted chocolate and then you may think the cake has not baked. So it's safer to go by the time in your muffin tray. Make a small batch and then you'll be able to figure out the exact baking time. The baking time in your oven may vary, so please be careful and note down the muffin tray you have used and the baking time. So let the cakes cool on a cooling rack for about 2 to 3 minutes. They will firm up slightly, and then remove them carefully from the tin. And please do make sure you eat a couple of these when they are still warm. That's when they taste the best. I hope you'll bake some of these for yourself and some for your friends as well. Surprise them with some chocolate fruit cakes. Wish you a very happy Christmas. I hope you have lots of fun baking. There's lots more baking coming up on Cakes and More. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned.